It's the first discovery apple of the season. I love it when these are coming in season because of the best thing. This tree is the oldest on our property, so we're 35 years old. This tree was here well before I was born, and that is a nice, good-looking apple, that, isn't it? That is 10 out of 10. I'll tell you that. Crisp, sweet. Discovery apple, by the way. These are one of my favourite apples. They don't store so well, but they definitely taste good. I mean, to be honest, this year it hasn't done as good as the previous years, because we did have a bit of a weird start to the year where we had extremely cloudy, wet weather, and then we had about 3 weeks in June. I was actually away for, unfortunately, where it was actually really dry and hot, and I think a lot of the apples that were setting dropped in that short space of time. So the ones that have been left, although they're growing nice and big and good, like this one here, it's not as abundant as it was in previous years, even though I'm not complaining about the amount we're actually still getting. So this is the path down to Food Forest. You can see we've got some nice blackberries, and these are just starting to turn ripe now. And it's interesting to see the difference in ripening based on that tree there. It's causing shade through most of the day, so they're riper here than they are over there, so it's sort of staggering harvest. But look at these. I mean, talk about the size of a blackberry. You don't really get much bigger and sweeter than that. Blackberry and apple is a good combo. I say it this way because I want to see the sheer quantity of blackberries growing in this bush. I've never seen a more abundant blackberry bush in my entire life, and I kind of feel sorry for people who go wild blackberry picking when you can grow them like that. I mean, look at it. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Let's head into Hen Pen first, because I've got some good stuff going on in here that I've not updated for a long time. I think it's about time I did that. So these are all raspberries. They've actually finished now, and this is a young apple tree, and you can see it's actually got a lot of apples on it. But the main feature here is not only this massive buddleia bush that is just going to flowering now, where all the butterflies go in the heat of the day. Oh, it's amazing to sit down here and just watch the amount of butterflies. I mean, it's covered with bees now, little bees. I see loads of them. There's so many. You just hear them all buzzing. But that is secondary to the main feature here, which is this Victoria plum tree. Look at the size of this tree, and bear in mind this is only 3.5 years old, and the quantity of plums on here is just absolutely ridiculous. It's not normal to get a tree this big this quick, but that is definitely because of the fact that I've got such healthy soil and healthy foundations that is allowing the tree to just absolutely explode with life. Okay, quick interruption. I hope you're enjoying the video so far, but I've got a very important announcement to make. Do you want to create a food paradise just like this one? Or do you already have a garden and you just want to level up your produce because you know there's so much more capabilities to growing food than a simple, boring old annual garden? Well, if that's the case, then I've got the perfect thing for you, because I've been working very hard on creating a complete guide for free, everything you need to know on how to create a food forest just like this one from start to finish. There's no unnecessary theory, no fluff, none of that rubbish, because I've written every single word myself, and I can tell you it's only what you need to know on how to grow food the right way, to grow in HOA. So if you want that, it's going to be available on my website growingofficial.com. I'll also put a link below this video where you can download it. So check it out, download it, and get creating your own food paradise. This area I did a short take on it earlier on in my channel, where basically these are rescue fruit trees from the bottom down there. So on this property, it's about half an acre, 3/4 an acre, we've got 50 fruit trees, and these are rescue ones. I'll show you what I mean. Basically, rabbits and deer came to the food forest down there, and they did this. It's called girdling. They went around the bark and ate all the way around. It killed the tree from that point upwards. So what I've done is I've rescued them, pruned the tops off, and now we're getting new growth outside and getting young fruit trees like this one. This one's a year ahead. It doesn't look, it's not fully recovered yet, but that's the idea of this area. We're going to have loads of young fruit trees. They're going to start to take shape in a few years time, like this one here. You can see that's all new growth this year. You can see that's where I made the cut, and all this is new growth, so we'll have a lower fruit tree in this area. So for anyone who watches the channel and know my hens are just friends, they're not there for food. See, this is quite interesting here. This hen is eating its own egg, and this is really important for the hens to actually do, because they're bred so unnaturally to produce so many eggs. Their natural instinct is to actually eat some of their own eggs back to get the calcium and the nutrients back in themselves. And also they really enjoy the taste, you can see. Enjoying. I won't disturb you too much because I know you're eating. Now let's carry on the tour. Right, so this here is the compost pile. And you might actually see a lot of mango and granadilla shells like that there. This is what I've been eating, granadilla. We had a delivery of exotic fruits this last week. So we've been feasting on some exotic fruits, mangoes, granadilla, dragon fruits. I've never actually had a dragon fruit before this week, and that was absolutely amazing. I made it into a nice smoothie as well. Hydration is where you get your energy from. If I look like I've got a lot of energy, it's because I'm eating a lot of fruit, a lot of structured water, which is in the fruits. I mean, there's something called H3O, and it's actually electrically charged. I've seen videos of people lighting up light bulbs with fresh fruit. And think about what that's going to do for your body, how much fuel you're going to get if you eat raw living foods like that. This whole fence was covered with tayberries. Another amazing berry if you don't already grow them. I'd really recommend planting them along your fence lines because they trellis along the fence and they create a berry abundance, which I did a video on earlier on my channel. If you want to see that, make sure you watch it because it is an amazing video. I had over 11 varieties of berries in one handful. I ate them all in one go. So straight away we're actually overwhelmed with raspberries. Again, it's coming to the end of the season, but these are going to be next year's fruiting canes. So all the old ones have finished and they'll be dying back, and you can thin them out if you want to next year, but I never decide to thin them out. It's more work, unnecessary work. Instead I just leave it and get more and more year after. There's actually a couple of blueberry plants in there, but can't get my way in. Didn't plan it right with all the raspberries that are growing. This is basically where I have all the annuals growing. Here we've got some red cabbage, radish, that again is going to seed. You can see the seed pods and that's what, in fact, I've pulled out this quite amazing this, you'll see this. So one little radish like that produces all them seeds. So you only need a few plants to save tons and tons of seeds from. And saving seeds is extremely important. You definitely want to make sure you have part of your garden allocated to that part of your food forest, because saving seeds is the way you get true food independence. We've got some more Swiss chard there. So, oh, it's so good. You know, look at that. Look at that. It's dying red inside. You don't really get that from the ones you buy in the supermarket, because they're nowhere near as good as quality as the ones you grow yourself. Well worth the investment in planting fruit trees. Hands down, the best investment you can make. One fruit tree might take a few years to get your first crop, but after that, you've got a lifetime of fruit, and you cannot beat the taste, quality, and nutrition of a ripe fruit that is picked seconds from eating. Anyway, back to it. This is parsnips. These are from the seeds I saved. You can see how healthy and vigorous they look. They're growing really well. Next to loads of beetroots, carrots, and then that is next to another massive raspberry plant. That is yellow raspberries. Again, they finished, but they will have a second crop later in the fall. So we'll have more yellow raspberry to eat later on in the year. And then our strawberry patch, I've done some replanting the strawberries because I wanted to change the structure a bit of this area. And basically I'm trying to create more of just a mess of food. I want to have everything growing in a small space, so you just have abundance literally from everywhere you're standing. So from here I'll be able to grab strawberries, raspberries, cucumbers growing up here. I've actually picked the first cucumber last week, but again it's not quite the right climate, I have to say, northwest England, to grow cucumbers outdoors. But I tried it anyway and I did actually get a good one, and we've got a few more setting. So hopefully we'll get a few more before the end of the season, before it goes cold and it heads into winter. This here area here is all currant bushes and gooseberry bushes. Then we've got a plum tree over there, which has got loads of plums on it. Again, we're just heading to plum season, so we're going to have even more fruits to have. But basically all these are actually finished now. These are all early varieties. Black currants at the back, which I showed in the previous video. But the whole of the ground again is covered with wood chip, which is so important for the success of everything. I can see how healthy these plants actually look. See there, straight away, take one look and there's a ladybird sat in the plant. Now that is a good sign. You want insects everywhere you look. And you know straight away if you see that from one glance, you've got a healthy system. Over there is a herb garden, but I'll leave that, I'll show it on the way out perhaps. But I've covered that before. And then here behind me, this is all rocket going to seed. These are actually still edible, by the way. They have a really good taste, but yeah, saving seeds again, as you can see, is a bit of a priority I've got right now. And the same with the lettuces. These are still good to pick, but they're just starting to go to seed now. So I've got a second round of lettuces sowed in the main annual bed over there, but this is just a secondary patch that I did have a lot of lettuce from this season. Heading through here, we've got this, I call it the showstopper bush, massive jostaberry bush. I mean, this had so many jostaberries in this year, and they have such amazing flavour that makes you think you have to be growing them. And behind me again, I've got a massive sea of yellow raspberries. Again, these are just set in the second set. If you look closely, you can see here. See there? Got the second set of yellow raspberries getting ready for later on in the season. And that is after we've already had so many. So that is a really good one to plant if you want year-round abundance. Just brushing past this apple tree. This apple tree, different variety, so slightly later in the season. Red Falstaff, a very good variety. Looking forward to trying them again this year. But you can probably notice a lot of the low-hanging fruit was unfortunately eaten by the deer that have been in the food forest. They came through and thought this is a place I want to hang out in. And then they've got a lot of the low fruit, but it's not too big of a deal. That's the Jerusalem artichokes. They're also an amazing plant. You can see it's covering the fence line. It's a really good privacy barrier, and they also have an amazing crop below them. And you're probably wondering now, what is this? What have I got going on here? I'm actually going to do a full video on it later on in the year, but believe it or not, these are actually purple sweet potato vines. So I'm trying to grow purple sweet potatoes in northwest England. Yeah, I said that. Northwest England purple sweet potatoes outside. I mean, I have got this a greenhouse with no lid on, because the glass will definitely stop the wind, will cause a natural windbreak, and it will be warmer inside, and also it will trap some heating, but it will still allow the sun rays, the natural sun rays, to get to the plant leaves unfiltered, which is really important for the healthier plants. I mean, there's stuff showing how tomatoes grown in greenhouses have significantly less lycopene, which is really important for the plant health, and it's actually a really important feature of the tomato that is unfortunately being lost because we're growing through a filter, which is glass. So that's why I've got the lid off these purple sweet potatoes. This again is a nice little wild patch, and you can hear there's actually some crickets around. I want to draw them into the garden as much as possible. And this tree here is a pear tree, Conference pear, and we've got a few little pears on it. But to be honest, these trees here are just a taster of what is to come down there, because we've got 50 fruit trees planted. But before I show you down there, just turn around, I've got here, looks like a bit of a mess, which it is a little bit, but there's loads of potatoes growing that are just starting to die back, so we'll be ready to harvest soon. But in between all these potatoes, we've got blueberry plants. We've got 9 in total. You can see they're just starting to get ripe now. I've actually been picking these, so there's not, but there you can see nice blueberries. They look nice and healthy. You can see I've not even bothered to net it, and the birds aren't getting them. I've got fresh blueberries. I have a lot of birds in this garden, a lot of wildlife. Like I told you, I had a deer. I've actually got bunnies nesting in there, but I still don't net my blueberry plants, and I still get fresh blueberries. They're so good. So let's just head down to the main food forest. Well, not the main forest, the secondary food forest. I've got 50 fruit trees planted, but I haven't wood chipped the ground. I've gone for a very different approach, and as you can see straight away, it is completely wild. Rewilded land. I've got about half an acre here. And it's pretty amazing when you walk down. This is prime location for deer, because as you can see in the surrounding fields, the ones at the farmer's home that are not naturally rewilded, there's not enough long grass for the deer to naturally hide in. So when you leave a field like this, deer want to come to an area like this because, trust me, you can barely see them in the long grass, and obviously that is a natural, hide for them to feel comfortable in, because deer, they're very, very shy animals and they want a bit of privacy. But you can see this, I just love walking down here on a nice day. You see I've made a nice pathway down. If you're designing a food forest from scratch, so you've got a piece of land, pathways are a really good thing to incorporate through the whole food forest, because they just add a feeling like it's something, not just a plain piece of land. There I've actually planted an oak tree, you can see. It's just taking growth now. So that hopefully, in fact no, it's a walnut tree. Sorry, I got it wrong, walnut tree. So that hopefully fill up there and hopefully get some hedges growing along there as well. All these, there's a variety of plum, apple, pear, gauges, and cherries at the back, and yeah, they're all planted in pollination groups, which is very important. If you want to start your own food forest, make sure you plant or you're paying attention to pollination groups, because you want to make sure that your fruit is pollinated, otherwise you won't actually get the fruits you labour. Some fruits are self-fertile. I think Victoria plum is actually a self-fertile tree. Discovery apple is, but you just have to do more research on it when you get a chance. But you can see how they're starting to really take shape now. This was obviously delivered to me as a little stick. I made the initial cut pruning there, and then the main leaders of the tree formed, and it's produced this nice goblet shape that is now going to be the foundations of a tree. So it's really important to shape your trees whilst they're young, because that's how you get the correct structure and look. That tree over there has got about five pears on it. It's only tiny, it's only a couple of years old. As you can see, I've covered it a bit excessively in that. I don't like the look of that, but I had to do it just to get it established whilst we had deer literally living in this field. And I did that because I didn't want to put a high fence around the entire field to stop the deer from hurdling the fence, because I really want the deer in here. But with that, you do have to be cautious of protecting your fruit trees. Like, once these get established, these trees, it won't be a problem. Like the ones that are getting significantly bigger, like these ones, they're set now. They're pretty much set, and I can remove the guards off them. But whilst they're young, perhaps a couple of years old, that's when you want to just help them along so that they get established. And also, obviously, I would never kill an animal. I want as much wildlife and animals in this food forest as possible. So all the deer and rabbits, barn owls, whatever it is I can get, I want to draw them in, because that is what makes this food forest special. So you can see it's starting to take more shape. I mean, in a few years' time it will look significantly different, because the trees will start to canopy over. I should mention, most of the apple trees are semi-dwarf, dwarf trees, but then we've got a few significant plums and cherries that are going to be full size. So there's going to be a variety of heights. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get all this fruit growing. I probably will end up doing some giveaways to my subscribers, or even do some tours and some, just gifts to local people who watch my channel, because I know there's many people out there who've reached out to me and they want to be part of it as well. So I think we'll end the tour there. I think I've given you a good overview of what's growing and how things are taking shape in summer, because now we're in August. And if you did enjoy the video and you found it interesting, then let me know in the comments, and I'll try and do something similar in future. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.